What's up guys, welcome back to the GU Patrol rebuild of the build. As you can see, Rex has got the engine and everything in the car ready to go. This is our fresh rebuild, so about to hit the key for the first time. Rex has already primed it, it's already got oil pressure, so start it up and see how it goes. Righto boys and girls, she's back on the dyno, ready to rumble again. But moving it in and out, the clutch still feels cooked. The clutch still just feels horrendous. We're so smacking our heads against the wall. We've got no idea where to go from here. The only thing left is the clutch line. You know, everything else has been replaced or tried or removed, and the clutch line is the only thing that stayed consistent since the problem started with the new clutch. Well, yeah, obviously that and the clutch that's in it. So we need to call NPC and have a chat to them. But yeah, we're really running out of ideas on how to sort this freaking clutch out. It doesn't make any sense, and it's just a shitty problem. It's not a fun problem.
All right, guys. So I started putting this video together. I loaded over an hour's worth of raw footage into Premiere Pro, and after about 30 minutes of listening to myself talk, I could not stand it anymore. So we're doing a little bit of a different delivery on this video. I was going to split it up into more videos, but it's mostly just me doing the norm, repeating myself, and it's time to change. It's time to start making good on my promise of delivering better, more entertaining content. In a bid to do so, we are going to drift in and out of narration over very sped up footage where I just try and condense what has happened with this vehicle, just to try and shorten this up, fit everything in one video that doesn't really need to be sprawled out over multiple videos. So we had continuous issues with this clutch. First thing we had to do was run in the fresh engine rebuild. Now, the engine went great, run-in went great. However, during the run-in process, we actually killed the water pump bearings. So that was a problem that needed to be rectified. We needed to put a new water pump on this thing, and the clutch just didn't get any better as time went on. So here I am replacing the water pump. We made the decision to actually remove the clutch line, make a new hard line for the clutch to try and eliminate the issue that we were having with the clutch. We ordered all the new parts to make a new hard line for the clutch line.
Righto boys and girls, so back here this morning, and I'm gonna let Rex run you through exactly what happened yesterday with this clutch line.
I pulled this one out.
Now Kith.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's got some, so that weird pattern.
The spiral.
Like, it's a spiral. Anyway, for whatever reason. I don't know what the deal is because I've used this stuff before for clutch lines and it hasn't been a problem, so I don't know if maybe because it's a four-wheel drive with a heavy...
Oh, sorry guys, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So you pulled that one out.
Take 3. Pulled that one out.
Yep.
It's got some weird, like a weird spiral pattern on it. And you can, well you guys can't, but I can feel like it's sort of bumpy.
Yeah, can you feel that guys? Can you feel it?
Yeah, can you feel it? So anyway, like I've used this before, 200 series for clutch lines and haven't had a problem, but I don't know if maybe being four-wheel drive and being reasonably long and being quite a heavy clutch, it's just not been happy.
The thing is that if the line wasn't happy, going to the smaller bore and the slave would have accentuated the issue that it was having.
Yeah, more pressure.
Yeah, you have more pressure, so.
It got us our travel, but not consistently.
Yeah.
So, after everything, and I couldn't really believe this, but it's actually got a complete standard clutch line in it now. Like from all the way down. The old soft line, the old hard line, everything. I went to make a new one, and I sort of went to grab the other parts to like basically get an idea of sort of routing and what I was gonna do. And I was looking at it and I was like, hang on, why wouldn't this just go back in? And I had to think about it yesterday after I did it, and I seem to remember that we originally took that line out because when the engine was in there, before we had actually done any of the fab work, I was looking at where the clutch was routed, and that was where we thought we were going to bring a dump pipe.
Yep.
But it didn't end up working, and we went the oval pipe route. But I never reconsidered that the old
Stock
clutch
line
line
would go back in with the oval pipe.
Yeah, it would actually work now.
Yep.
So I put it back in yesterday, and it works mint. I had to modify it in a few spots just to clear like the coil packs and some of the stuff that we've done, but it was actually not that hard to put it back in. And I test drove yesterday afternoon, it was mint. I put our brand new standard size slave back in, and it's got, like, clutch feels great now. It's back to being not heavy, it's just like factory feel, and the clutch sort of friction point, pickup point's just under halfway, like it's perfect. So
after
consistent every time.
After all of those issues, all that mucking around, waiting for all those parts, and consistently wanting to bash your head against a brick wall, it's just ended up with the stock line going back in and fixing the problem. So
kind of embarrassing, to be honest.
It's embarrassing, but I feel like it's also important to document for anyone else that may experience this issue. But
it's wild because, like, that 200 series is rated for like 4,000 PSI.
Yeah.
Like it's rated, you can't use it for brake line in a street car, but like guys off-road cars and stuff like that use that for brake
lines and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know what like we said, we've used it before and never had a problem, but for whatever reason, this one, it just wasn't happy. And there was no heat involved. There was never anywhere that got hot. So really, really strange. But so the brand new slave that we bought before we sent the old one down to get rebored is in it now. So it's still a brand new slave. Still all brand new, just yeah, it's just got a stock size one back in it though, which is awesome, because like we said, the smaller bore actually made the pedal a lot heavier. So having the standard one back in there, it just feels like a factory clutch. It's nice and soft and it's consistent. Pickup point's good, so hopefully from here on out, we just get this thing tuned. We've still got a bit of our fault findings to do. Still got a bit of this to go on the dyno, but with our new water pump, clutch issue sorted, just waiting on this freaking AC lines. But yeah, hopefully this thing from here is no more problems for us, and we can finally get this done and back to the owner, because I know he's been, obviously, been waiting for it. So a lot of things that we never counted on, but this is a good example of just trying to build full custom cars, going wrong. And you know, we've done quite a few of these. It's not like this is the first one or anything, but there's still just problems that we'd never encountered before that pop up and rear their ugly head and cost you heaps of time. And this is how a complete custom build can sort of just drag on and be a pain. But anyway, the most important thing is that it's all sorted and it goes back to the owner, dead reliable, the car that it should be, his dream car that he always wanted. Exactly how it should be without problems. So, man, it's so cold this morning, the grass is crunchy. We've got crunchy grass under our feet.
So with hopefully the clutch issue in the past, the next thing to move on to was actually making the new AC lines for the new AC system. So this is the first time that we have ever even attempted making bespoke AC lines with proper crimped fittings. So it's definitely something new to us. I actually had a lot of fun making these and learning a new skill, trying something new, learning some new tools. Unfortunately, I pulled the pad off the bottom of the pump and it dumped all the oil out because I hadn't realized that they come pre-oiled. But I called our guy that does the gassing and he said it was all good. He would oil it up for us when he came to gas it up. So made the lines, figured out where to run them, had a few goes at a few different things, but overall really happy with the result. Had to modify the intercooler bracket a little bit to fit the AC line on the front. Unfortunately, the pad adapters that we can only get them to come off the front of the pad. So had a little bit of modifications to do, but all in all was really fun. We had a lot of delays waiting for AC parts that were on back order for a very long time from the place that we order AC parts from, but they did finally eventually all get here, which means that when this car finally does leave, it should be completely finished and done. And here I am trying to figure out where we're going to put a radiator overflow bottle, which still needs to be made, but we'll get that sorted before it goes. But it's all happy days.
Yeah, even just moving that thing out just now, that clutch feels a million times better. So fingers crossed that that is the end of this issue and we just push on from here. Righto guys, this fitting has arrived. It's Thursday morning, which means I'm about to terminate this and then this will be ready for gas whenever. And it will also be going on the dyno this afternoon, or actually this morning. We just got to get a baseline on this big rig, which will be coming in a later video. Very excited about that one. Big crimp, whoa, look at it. Ah! Big old crimpy boy. Try and show you how it works, but honestly the other crimps I all did on like a solid bench over there out of the car. This is the first one that I'll be trying to do in the car.
and might be a bit of a challenge. Am I over being sick, guys? I can't tell you just how over it I am. Huh. Dude, I crimp. Probably should have got the one with the foot pump. Because my feet aren't broken, but my arm is. I think it's crimped enough. I don't know. Yeah, I really hope this works, guys. Again, I've got no idea whether this is gonna work or not. Loosen him off, loosey-goosey, open him up. And that's a crimped boy. So with the AC lines completed, it was time to get it on the dyno and actually start running this thing back up now that the engine was run in. So we got it on the dyno. Our clutch issue had been sorted by our new clutch line, so we're absolutely stoked to finally be at the bottom of this clutch issue and have it in the past. But it was pretty evident from the get-go that we still had some issues with some noise. We had the Plex on this thing as well, and we had some issues with the ECU and the Plex not agreeing with each other on when this thing was knocking and when it was getting noisy. We had a few problems there, so we just started collating data, started getting data all over the place. Early on, when we had some issues with noise, we decided to put some octane booster in the fuel. The octane booster helped a little bit, but there were still issues, and now the problem was that we wanted to read the plugs, and because of the octane booster, we couldn't read the plugs. So octane booster was designed and developed as a lead replacement when they were phasing out lead fuel, and it's got a additive in it that's called manganese. Manganese actually leaves deposits on your spark plugs. It's what makes them the very tan color, and it makes them pretty much impossible to read. So in order to read the plugs now, we actually have to drain all the fuel with the octane booster out of this thing, clean it out, and then put a fresh lot of 98 in it, and then some fresh spark plugs so that we can actually get some plugs in this thing that we can read. So through this part of the video, I was just talking about how there are still some people commenting about how this turbo is far too small for this setup. But I think a lot of these people forget that this is not the first time we've done a very similar setup to this. So we have done before a 6.2 litre LS3 in a GU wagon with an S369. This is an S366, but the 369 has the same exhaust side with over 500 wheel horsepower. We also did another GU ute last year with a 5.7 and a Borg Warner S366 that went 530 wheel horsepower. So we're no strangers to this setup. It does work very well. This is a 2-ton four-wheel drive. It's not a 1500 kilo car. So what you realistically want to be doing is sizing the turbo as small as possible to still make your power goals, and that is how you're going to have the most fun and get your four-wheel drive moving. The guy we actually bought our dyno and everything off is a good friend of ours. He actually had a 5.3 LS iron block in a GU wagon with an S366 on E85, making well over 600 wheel horsepower. So this turbo is not terribly sized for this setup. It is very adequately sized for this setup and the power goals. It is not an issue with the turbo, we don't believe. So the last GU ute that we did with a Borg Warner S366 on a 5.7 on our dyno last year, we also had quite a few issues which ended up being a cracked inlet manifold. But due to the issues we were having with that patrol, we did a very similar thing where we actually collated a whole heap of data off a whole heap of ports on that car while we tuned it. So it's great that we have all this data to now compare this one to. So we are comparing the data from this one to that one, our back pressure ratio versus IMAP, all that sort of thing, and what we found was that it was all very, very comparable. There was nothing in the data from this car that really stood out as an issue, so we were still not quite sure why this thing didn't want the boost and timing that we reckoned it should. The only thing we did find is in the intake between the turbo and the snorkel, we did find about a -2 psi pressure vacuum there, which if you're looking over a pressure ratio over the compressor wheel of about 2:1, that actually does equate to quite a bit of boost loss. So one thing to try was going to be to try run this thing without the intake on it to see whether we see that extra couple of psi boost come up. However, we tried that and it didn't really make much difference. So about midway through all of our fault finding here, the guy to gas up the AC system showed up and we started gassing up the new AC system, and it went great. There was no leaks. We re-oiled the system for the oil for the pump. We put a heap of dye in the system to make sure we could see if there was going to be any leaking fittings, but all of our fittings and new lines and everything held gas great, and the AC system works great and it's nice and cold. So with the AC system sorted out, it was back into the tune and back into the data collation. All of a sudden we found ourselves chasing a misfire. So this wasn't the first misfire. We actually had a misfire the day before, and it actually turned out to be a plug lead boot. And this misfire turned out to be a plug lead boot also, not not just any plug lead boot, but the same one that we had yesterday. So what we actually found was one of our heat shields that we had made for the manifold for the driver's side was actually directing a lot of the exhaust heat straight up between two runners and into the plug lead boot. Honestly, this exhaust shield was probably just a little bit over the top with us trying to deal with heat issues, and thus actually created a heat issue. So we removed that heat shield that was just protecting a couple of brake lines right at the back of the manifold, and from then we didn't have any more issues with this plug lead. Not only were we now chasing an issue with a plug lead, we were now actually having some belt issues. So this high mount AC kit was actually causing us some belt problems. The belt was trying to walk back off the AC pump. We were trying to figure out whether it was a pump alignment issue or whether it was a tensioner or both. And this would plague us for a little while. So at this point, the car was actually due to be picked up the next day. We were actually quite happy with the tune. We were just having a little bit of inconsistency still with the cylinder noise and the Plex agreeing with the ECU. But now that we started having issues with this belt, and then also issues with this misfire that we didn't know whether we'd fix or not, at this point at 4 o'clock on the Friday afternoon, we had to call it once again on the pickup for the weekend. And once again, the car was actually going to be delayed another week. So very, very frustrating for us, very, very frustrating for the owner. But obviously after spending so long, so much time and money getting this car built to where it is, it was very important to us that when it leaves, it is right. Everything is right and we know exactly what's happening. The last thing we wanted to do was have it leave with problems that could lead to another catastrophe or another failure. So towards the ends of these clips and these last clips here, I was just explaining about how we're still having issues with this thing being just so inconsistent with as far as the cylinder noise goes, and how the Plex and the ECU weren't agreeing with each other, and that to get it to sort of be quiet enough, it had literally half the amount of timing at the same point of the map as far as RPM and boost goes as our 80 series does. So it didn't really make any sense to us why this thing didn't want any timing. It just wasn't happy. We talked about whether maybe we got a bit greedy with the cam and just decided and just had a cam with a little bit too much duration. We're pretty happy with the lobe separation and the split of this cam, but maybe we could have gone for around 4 to 5 degrees less duration on both the intake and exhaust. We're not really too sure, nothing really made sense, and none of the data that we had collated throughout these few days of testing really was conclusive at all. So this was where I was going to split the video so that I could do another video when we get it sorted, but I decided just to reformat this video, and here we are. Righto guys, so I hope you're enjoying the format of this video. My apologies if you're not, but I loaded all that raw footage in there and I started editing and I just got sick of hearing myself talk, and I know you guys would be as well. So I was gonna split it into 2 videos and it was just a whole bunch of just nonsense that I thought would be easier to change the format to what I've done. Hope you've enjoyed it, but this is where we're pretty much at with the thing. It's going this weekend. We spent heaps, Rex has just spent so much time on this thing. It's so weirdly sensitive. There's no data that we've collected that really is conclusive as to why. At this stage, we honestly wouldn't mind perhaps trying a different cam. We may have just gone a bit too greedy with the cam. With this turbo setup and the back pressure, there might just be a bit too much duration in it.
It's still a baby cam. This was just a possible suggestion. I don't know, maybe there's something up with the grind.
We don't know. We're pretty much out of ideas.
That's it. I'm throwing Hail Marys out there now.
Yeah.
I'm done with, I can't think of
We have spent so much time on this thing trying to figure out what's going on. It now holds the record for the most dyno runs of a single car on our dyno at 106. We've just spent so much time on it and there's nothing conclusive that's come out of it. So we're unsure why. By all accounts, it should want more timing. It should be making more power for the boost that it's at, and it should want more timing, but it doesn't. It's getting really noisy. We don't understand why. And at this stage, we're thinking maybe we're really happy with the lobe separation of the cam. We're really happy with the split. Just maybe we went a bit too greedy on the duration. Maybe with like 4 to 6 degrees less duration, both intake and exhaust, maybe it would perform a little bit better. So it's something that we're sort of happy to potentially try one day if maybe the owner has you know, a week or two where he doesn't particularly need the car and he can drop it off to us, but we might try just swapping the cam out and trying a different grind and just seeing how it responds, because nothing else that we've been able to find has really made any sense. But anyway, this is where we're at the end of it. So we've got low boost, smidge over 400 at the wheels, which is plenty to party. That's happy days. This was the best run we had on high boost, which was a 495. Pretty happy with that result, 495, but the car wasn't consistent at that sort of timing and boost. It kept having runs where it would get loud, there were runs where it wouldn't. The Plex and the ECU weren't agreeing with each other. It was just nightmarish. So we ended up dialing it back. It was a bit happier with a little bit less boost and a little bit more timing. It was a little bit more consistent. That was the best run we had in it, that 495, but realistically high boost at this stage is around that 470, 480. So we dialed it back a little bit just in the interest of keeping it safe and consistent. So low boost is between 7 and 8 pound. High boost is around 11, 12. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of this thing for now. It's happy where it is now. It's just taken a lot of time. You know, make no mistake, the tune at this stage is fine. It just doesn't make sense to us why this thing doesn't want boost and timing. Like I said, we've done quite a few of almost identical setups, mind you, with just a little bit smaller cams, and they've been happier with more timing and boost than this thing has. And like I said, none of our data has been conclusive as to why. So very frustrating, very annoying, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're just spending heaps and heaps of time on it, trying to chase something for our own, you know, our own want or the feel of needing to understand why. At the end of the day, it's not going to make that much difference to the customer, and at this stage he just needs the car back and we sort of need it gone. It's just been too long. So anyway, at the moment, the last thing to finish now is what Rex is sorting out right now, is a radiator overflow. So you may have seen over in this corner, we actually have a little pan brake. So huge thanks to my mate Matt. Baby little pan brake, but it's going to be really handy for doing things exactly like this. So this is going to be the first test run of it. This is making up a net to make a radiator overflow, which is going to fit down here underneath the intake. It means that you still be able to get the intake on and off without having to touch the overflow bottle. And we should be able to make one that's around 2 litres that should fit in there. So we've got a few fittings and a filler cap here ready to weld on. And we've got a sheet of 3mm thick alley today. Hopefully our pan brake will be right with 3mm. A bit bigger than that pan brake, probably going to be too happy with, but not like we're folding a 600 sheet. It's only a small bit we've got to fold, so hopefully the 3mm will be fine. But anyway, make an overflow. This is getting picked up on the weekend. Happy days for now. And yeah, we'll maybe try a new cam one day. We'll see. Also, after lots and lots of trial and error and messing around with this bracket and the pump and the tensioner and everything over here that was causing us our belt issues, it appears that we've got to the bottom of that. It appears the belt is happy now. So fingers crossed that's the last of our issues with this car. This bracket has been particularly a bit of a pain, but hopefully no more belt issues because they're an absolute pain in the bum. Rightio guys, overflow bottle all sorted out. And what did it work out, Rex? 3 litres.
Yeah, just under 3 litres.
Just under.
Out the top bar.
Just under 3 litres. What a G.
I'm pretty happy with it.
See? So yeah, pretty stoked. Fits really nice, as we thought about. Can take the intake in and out, don't have to worry about the overflow, just sits down there out of the way. Relocated the Mac valve to fit in the area as well.
As I said, I wish the welds on the actual cap were a little bit nicer, but the other ones I'm pretty happy with. The rest of it for a not fabricator.
For a fabricant.
Fabricant.
Ah, happy days. So, owner's on the way to pick it up now. All we've got to do is get some coolant. Still got water in it, so we've got some coolant in it, and we've got some new belts. This one, after all the belt issues we've had, it's now a 5 rib. We've lost a rib on it after all that, so we've got some new belts, one to go on, one that he can keep as a spare, keep the 5 rib also as a spare. Always good to have spare belts. But yeah, aside from that, that's pretty much the big girl sorted out after all this time. So the Patrol is gone. The owner just picked it up and left. He was stoked with it. We're stoked with the end result. Went for a drive up the road before he left, just to make sure that this the new belt was all good, and it's all happy days. So that's the end of the Patrol build at this stage. Hope yous have enjoyed the series. Obviously, there were a lot of unexpected turns that the series took, and some unfortunate events for all involved, but the main thing is that we got there in the end with the car. It's exactly what the owner always wanted, and it's everyone's happy with it. So thanks for watching as always, guys. It's on to the next one now. We'll see you on that one. Peace out, see you, bye.